YouTube, what's going on? I'm going to look at some cars. We got a lot of them piling up. I got some cool stuff. I mean, I don't know. We were around, we're kind of traveling, and I had a good fortune of finding that vintage Matchbox service station. Well, there was a couple other things we picked up, and, well, we'll take a look at them here. Kind of neat. One of the things, get these vintage stuff out of the way, was this. And this was just a very odd thing. I forgot about these. Here's the package for it. Racing Champions, back in the day. One of about 10,000. Too short, right? Look at this thing. So this is maybe where this casting originated. I can't remember. Racing Champions, Johnny Lightning folks, I know you will probably be able to chime in. But we looked at this. We had a Golf version of this that was recently released in the past year or so, and it has a metal base. But this is awesome. This is like chromed out, polished Zamac or whatever. So that was kind of neat. This was in the package all that time. And let's take a look. So the Motor Trend series. We'll look at the truck in a second. Highboy Ford. A 59 unit. Real cool looking. But this is back where this casting kind of came from. And I think when I looked at this, the copyright was, well, I'll probably have to look at this later. But I'm thinking it was in the 90s, 2000s, something like that. Last time I read through this thing. We actually see the real scale there, which I also like. So it was this truck and a truck I already have, which actually released very similar to what it was, two-tone Ford. I think it was a 62. You know, the unit truck, the unibody one. So anyway, there's the package. Kind of minty. Got it for a great price. It was at a antique shop that wasn't too proud of their toys that they kind of had spread around. So there's our tires, looking really slick. And it's got the same wheels that they've reproduced to this day that I could see. Golf truck's up on the shelf, so, well, you know, basically it's this. It has a little bit more tampoing than this one does. Let's see, Ford. And it's got that big old motor in there. Look at that. So this is cool. A little bit of a flashing on the tires, so you can see it rolls a little crooked. Still has tailgate. Still has that nice Ford lettering. Really simple taillights. No bumper. It's basically how they were. Bumpers were usually out at the dealership. Bent seat. Really not much going on in there, but there's enough, and you could see kind of like the humble beginnings of these casting. Kind of the start, kind of that age of these castings where they're getting pretty decent for quality and for accuracy, even though now we know that it is a little bit bigger than 1/64 scale. Not that much. Here's an M2 unit we looked at last video. So they're close. It's close enough. Car looks pretty good. And there's really not this vehicle made any elsewhere in this scale. Ertl did one like this though. They have a close to 1/25th scale diecast of this, but they did promotional work with. They'll tampo someone's company logo on it, stuff like that. A lot of gas station issues. I don't have one of those vehicles. I probably should pick one up. I do like 1/25th scale diecasts. Most of it's 1/24 scale, and what quote unquote the American 1/25th scale. Ertl does it, and Speccast, a few others. So let's take a look at one more piece. This is something that I remember when I was younger. These were out, and these were really cheap. I mean, under $10 a piece. And I was looking for the Ford F8. I think it was either an F7 through an F9 truck. 1950, 1949. But this was a GMC truck. Where does it say? Here we go. So let's take a look. And it didn't have a silly livery. This was just GMC parts and service. And this is supposed to be true, 1/64 scale. American Highway Legends, AHL. Good company. Very actually accuracy was pretty good. All die-cast construction. Really never any plastic pieces. I had one of these when I was younger. These are from the late 80s into the 90s. When these were produced. You can actually would find these at the store. I remember some of these stores would have collectible stuff like, crystal animals and greeting cards and stuff like that. Well, there was this one part of the store that had a few of these, and they're actually a lot of money back then. They're like $20 from what I remember. And they'd have a bunch of them there, and then this was like a serial series. It's kind of like First Gear. They'd have like a run of each, whatever. This is kind of an earlier one. That Ford version you can see on eBay. I was really looking out for it because that's a great truck to have. This one looks a little toyish just because of the colors, but it's pretty neat. The axles go on. They can actually spin the tires off if you wanted to. So they're kind of loosely applied, but heavy construction. It is riveted. It's not screwed. And it does have an interior in there. It's not completely bare. Let's see. Let's take a zoom. And you can see the steering wheel. So that's kind of cool, and it's got lenses for the headlights. And again, pretty detailed for what was available back then, the casting technology and everything like that. Pretty good. You can definitely put stuff in there if you have anything like barrels or boxes. That will look kind of cool in there. Tires. And it rolls nicely. It's very soft rubber even after all this time being stuck in that box. The box is actually in really good condition, so that's kind of cool. Wasn't even punched. So whoever bought these kept them in a good spot. They had a whole slew of these, but they're very repetitive. They had like 3 or 4 of these every time. I'm not too much of a hoarder for cars off brands. I don't really collect Highway Legends, so it's hard for me not to just buy all of it. But I don't need it, so... But I was really looking for that Ford. Didn't find it. They had a couple of Mac versions. Very early Macs. Didn't like those. So this is what came home that day. And it was brand new. I was probably the first person to touch the thing since it was put in its box. So there we go. So some vintage stuff. Wanted to look at that. Get that out of the way. Kind of can find these things. I almost find going to those places and looking for things like this is probably more fun than trying to go look through scalped over pegs. Probably all of you can agree. And also the prices come back to normal there when it's not online. When it's not online, definitely finding stuff in person is much more cost effective. When I have the time to do it, it's very seldom that I can. Well, what do we got? Well, a couple of stragglers of Greenlight. So found a few that were loose. That I bought that were for sale. One of the Monte Carlos I found. And I don't know if we looked at this last time, but we'll look at it again. Why not? And also found Daisy's Jeep. Dixie. So, even though they don't have the licensing to Dukes of Hazzard or that I am aware of, they're able to basically reproduce all the vehicles, including the police cars. The only car that's missing is the Cadillac and the Charger, really. Everybody else, including Uncle Jesse's Ford, that's been done. All the police cars, just Boss Hogg's Caddy and the Charger. But everything else is there, so Charger is around, even though they really don't produce it to this day. There's enough where you can kind of fill in the rest. Even Cooter's tow truck is being done right now because he licensed it, I guess, or has it for sale, and they produced it, so... Even has the old Georgia plates. Look at that. I believe it was Georgia. Top comes off. Really well done, Greenlight. And again, when we looked at these CJs, and this is a CJ5 or a CJ7. Yeah, CJ7. Has the axle pushed too far back. Really a shame. It's quite the nice product. It's got the gloss black base and gold wagon wheel rims. Just a great unit. So I was glad to pick it up. Got it loose, so here it is. And we've looked at these Jeeps before, so we've talked about them. And it's cool seeing it, so I'll take a little zoom just so you can see the graphics. There you go. So, pretty neat, even the weather stripping is there. Inline 6, and if it was the early 80s, I think the 301 was still available, the 8-cylinder. Automatic stick shift, column shift. Autos, too. They had that, which you would see. Sometimes the Dixie would be a stick, and sometimes it would be an automatic, depending on what the hell they were filming. It was kind of funny, kind of picking up on that. And I noticed that when I was a kid. Most people wouldn't, but I did. I always noticed. I always noticed when they switched cars, too. Some would be painted differently. Some would have different wheels. Some would be different model years. I always picked up on that. I'm sure people who collect diecast probably also pick up when they switch vehicles out when they're filming. So we'll look at another Greenlight. Though these are ones I got out of the package. Definitely additions to the collection. I was on the fence about this, but new casting and new to the collection at Miggs. 21 Chevy Tahoe. Not my most favorite Tahoe design. I probably like the 07 to 13 the most, and then the 14 through 18, kind of like those. But here's the new body, and Greenlight didn't recast the tires like they've done with the Explorer and the Durango. They kind of got a newer tire on it. This has the old school tires, and I don't know if I'm really a fan of these. If this would be a street Tahoe car that would be not always off-road, they're going to have what the old Tahoe PPV, pursuit vehicle, police pursuit. They have a street tire on it, and it's a two-wheel drive. Now, probably moving more to all-wheel. I didn't look this up as much. It might only be all-wheel drive now. I don't know. GM has changed a lot since the last platform. You know, now we're using a 10-speed automatic transmission. We have hybrid drivetrains. They have 4 cylinders now on these heavy stuff. Now on the 9C1, don't know all the specs. Probably the 5.3 is over there. Maybe they have a 6-liter. But this is in the General Motors fleet demo unit. So this is what you'd see either at conventions or at the auto show, if we still had those going on anymore. Another welcome addition to Greenlight is the accessories. They decked us out with the light bar and the push bar, and I think they did a good job. The light bar is in a good position. Most times Greenlight's light bars they're older. They're from older castings, and they're pretty awful. I'm sorry, but this looks pretty good. Might be a touch high on the roof line, but not much. And it's awesome. So their new casting is very good. Wheels are even good. Just the tires need to be changed out. You know, if I can find a tire that would look a little bit better. They definitely have the running board on it. And it looks almost like a Z71 with this setup. I mean, you can see the front end. It's got the skid plate and all that. So, painted headlights, kind of like what Auto World does. It looks okay. Grill looks good. Since it's the only one I got, I'll probably keep this by itself. They're going to be having a series coming out soon that'll be a plane. I think I might like this casting more as a civilian vehicle than a police car. I hope they make it the generation prior to this, and maybe the prior generation to even that one. That would be great. I think that would be good. But I understand the reason to do this late model one. There's a lot of market for it, so I get it. People who make customs will like this too, because they can recreate current liveries on up-to-date police departments, and that's becoming a big hobby. Greenlight is getting involved. They realize people like Motormax and Welly, when they do their what they call blanks, plain white, plain black, or white and black paint schemes, they'll just flood the market with that. Sell them at a reasonable price because there's no extra licensing, and let people go to town making decals, because police department's pretty much going to use one of 3 or 4 or 5 units of vehicle. So Greenlight's getting into this. There is websites that do the Crown Victoria and the Caprice and things like that. They'll sell them out. Blanks. Greenlight has done so far the Crown Vics, and they've done the Explorers. They're probably going to do a run of these, and they'll probably hopefully do the Square LTD and the Caprice soon as blanks, and also the Dodge Diplomat and Grand Fury counterpart. That would be good too. So this looks pretty good, right? I mean, besides the tires, it is a little crooked when you roll it, which is typical of all these brands. You always have to fix it up. But this is how it comes out of the box. And if you want to look, this is Hot Pursuit Series 38. So there it is. And the vehicles that come. So we already looked at the police department. We saw the CHP Cherokee and the NYPD Cherokee and the Tahoe. Well, we had to go over to Route Runners, kind of like a cross feed, to get the NYPD Transit van, which we're going to look at next, which will fill in some of my NYPD collection. There's one of these hanging on the pegs as we speak now. I might get that as a carded version. I do like transit vans with the steel wheels. I do not like it with those hubcaps that you can see on this spare. Not a fan. But this looks good. I have not touched this up with the black paint. But as you know, when they tampo these, they do a good job. But when they do black, they usually have gaps and things that need to get filled in, like that, for instance, or that, or we can keep going down the line. I think you get what I'm saying. But all in all, good product. And for someone who likes to play with these things, I really like that they have kept to the screw base, not the riveted. Although these really don't need disassembly like the ones that they rivet. I wouldn't mind if these were riveted, actually. There's not a lot of windows to cloud. And if this one got cloudy, well, it's pretty easy to put a Q-tip in there, isn't it? So there we go. Soft tires still. I have not run the hard ones. So far, besides the Route Runner series, the only one that we've seen with the soft tires was the S10 in the last video. I hope this is a trend that continues. I do like the soft tires. They seem to be molded okay. And even if there is flashing, once you remove it, there's no deformity. So when you roll this thing, it rolls good. Go figure. I don't know if it costs more or if it's at a different plant, but please make more soft tires if you're listening. So, unfortunately, with white paint, as we know, if it's not primered, you're going to have that ghosting. So it's going to come through. And you see it a lot on this van. Now, I can easily go around with some paint and kind of fill that in. And I might do that. But right now, let's just take a look at the vehicle. So we've seen this before. Really no lighting units on this product. Maybe they should have a light bar. I didn't do too much research on this particular vehicle. Doesn't necessarily have to have lights on it, but most of them do. So we'll probably be able to find that later. There's our front. Right there. So we've looked at this van before, and it's one of my more favorite modern vans. It is kind of like the Sprinter van, the Mercedes version, or the Freightliner. It's rear-wheel drive, and it has a traditional, layout, unlike the ProMaster. But I digress. So I think we are wrapped up on Greenlight. We're going to go to basically all Auto World now. So let's make a little room. Get caught up on some of our Auto World beauties. Back this up here like this. We can put the Monte Carlo back in the garage. And we'll move on. So, let's take a look. There is one more loose Greenlight. This was a hole in the collection of the Bandit series. Kind of a funny one, too. They didn't make this only but one time. Of course, the car that Sally Field runs away with, trying to remember her name. Here it is. One of Greenlight's more enlightened castings ideas. You know, Pontiac Le Mans, right? This is Le Mans. Yeah. And just awesome. It's got the Pontiac wheel covers. Just love it. And, of course, it's got that. So we all know about the plot, of course. We looked at this card before with the Pontiac Enforcer. It's a police car. And we know that this is different than the updated wagon casting, which I always thought was interesting. Here's one. So kind of the same construction in the front of the car, but a cleaner execution on the wagon. They figured, let's dump this because we got to pay for doing this. But it also cleaned the front end up and the coves on this one. Where on the car it's more of part of a body line. This more looks like a piece of trim. This car has it, but it's much softer. So I would believe that this looks a little bit more realistic than this does. But this is good. And it does have the opening hood. People probably like that better. I'm sure they like seeing the engine. And they do a good job. They really do. And actually, I was looking at this and I was like, you know what? This deserves to be on film. We got the tampoed water and bottle and the looks like brake booster bottle up there or something like that. Brake reservoir. And then, or maybe the coolant overflow. Maybe that's the washer bottle. And then we got the 402 barrel. What a powerhouse that was. Full emissions equipment. This was a 77, so yeah, this was definitely down on power, but cool car. And of course, there's tons of these back then. They all went away. Texas plates. I do like this car at the rims. A little goofy, but you know, it's part of history, you know, if you like that movie. And I like Pontiacs. Well, you know, what can be better? All right, now we can probably move on. Let's go. All right, so we'll get caught up on the Suburbans. We looked at these before. Where is my little one? I don't know if I have it parked over here. Well, we got the gold one. Take a look at that. Don't know. Oh, here it is. So there they are. I'll do them as a pair because it's both A and B. And here we go. So, I looked through my other videos. I don't think I have these on film. We got the old two-tone ones. Release 3, version B gold, version A red. These are 66 models. The other ones were, I think, 65s. 66 last year for this body style. 67 was going to be rolling into what Greenlight really started with their four-wheel drive trucks. Two-wheel drives, things like that, later on. And I did make a four-wheel drive version that I posted on Instagram. So we'll look at these real quick. You can see the gold when I reverse the rim. I can't decide if I like it with the black walls or the white walls. So, still debating. Still got the huge gap in the hood, although you can move this back slightly. So, when I took this one apart, I didn't really solve that issue yet. I didn't want to get too crazy. I was more responsive with the more interested in getting the truck. But we'll just look at this real quick if you need to. There's our facts. Oh boy, what facts they are. And there's our vehicles that come with the set. So this was A. And the gold, and I really, really wanted the gold. The red, you know, we've seen that before in other vehicles. But the gold, the browns, the oranges, the greens, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yellow. Just the period colors. We got to look at those. So we got that fawn interior with the gold. It's just great. Really, really good. 60s, got the barn doors on the back. Just awesome. So, take a zoom here. We've looked at this before. We know that the post down there was kind of the only disappointment. Everything else is great on the vehicle. A little dusty, sorry. And I pushed the rims on the axles more so there was no play. It's got the tires that are on the Silverado trucks. So I pushed this in more. Because in real life, yes, it was kind of narrow like that. Really, they kind of stuck in stock. And we have our V8 in there. Most likely small block, of course. Inline 6 was also popular. This is the 10 half-ton truck. And, of course, you got that famous coil spring suspension with the long arms on it. So, yeah, I had drilled this out because I was playing with this. I didn't know if I wanted to lift this one or a red one. I think I found red one first in a duplicate, so that's why I lifted it. And I might go ahead and lift the other one next. Looks like I got a little rock chip there. So, big gap in the hood. And I guess it was common even on the real ones. So, some people have commented below and told me that. That's kind of what it was. Of course, it wasn't that big. If this was scaled up, that would be enormous gap. But there it is. Same interior color. Automatic transmission, sticks, 2-speed transfer cases, all sorts of things were available. Pretty neat, actually. This is right before they started putting rear doors on these things. They might have had a door on this. After this truck, with the other body style came out in 67, they had what they had a 3-door Suburban, which they might have had on this body style too. So that went on for a while, and they had a 4-door one finally. And that kind of 3-door got dropped after a while because they realized, it was more. It used to be more work than pleasure, kind of in between. Now it was definitely leaning towards private family ownership than it was commercial use, I'd say. Kind of got past that after they saw how useful this vehicle was. Very stiff hood, I must say. So these are my min examples, and ones that maybe will have pocket duty once or twice, but get regulated to the shelf. But this one here is for the layout, and this is I did the 4-wheel drive conversion on it, and I think it turned out okay. I used some of my last M2 wheels. I'm going to have to find more. But it looks good. I mean, M2 did great. Now, in real life, maybe the wheel diameter is a little bit big for 1/64 scale, but it does the job. And it's nice. I think it looks real good. Didn't do a lot of detailing underneath yet, but I can do some driveline stuff like I did with my International Lifted, which we've looked at before on the channel. And of course, it's pretty easy to put a driveline in 1/64 scale. Just a few pieces and pretty easy. You know what I mean? There's only about 3 or 4 pieces on there. And you're ready to rock. Excuse me. Let's wipe this off real quick. Alright. So there we go. I digress. Let's keep going. Let's look at some more stuff. If you want to see a little bit better pictures of this thing, just take a look at the Instagram account. Link is in the description. So, tell me what you think about that. Hopefully everybody liked that one. It's always good showing a couple of trucks that don't come straight off the assembly line. You know what I mean? So there we go. Alright. Well, we're getting through it. And then we got a big bonus at the end, I guess. Well, here's a Challenger. And I like this because it's green. And it's got the wheels that they put the skinnier tires on with the fatter tires from the Demons or the Hellcats or whatever you want to say. Well, this one here is a SRT 8 or SRT Hellcat 19 and in F8 green, which is basically like the olden day green from the 70 model and probably late 60s. So there's our information. And this also is release 3. This is version B. I think the other version was black or... Oh, I can't remember. I don't even know if I found it yet. A lot of these are getting scalped. I think it was blue and I didn't like it. I think maybe that's what it was. So anyway, here it is. And it's got the other hood. So we had a hood on these cars that we've looked at. Let's fix that real quick. That hood. Then we have this hood. So there you go. I have not fixed the slop yet in the axle, and of course we still have the issue where we don't have the quarter window. But other than that, very nice car. Let's take a look here. Let's get it in. Let's get in on it. So, tampo work on these cars are always pretty good. This one has California plates, looks like. Yep. Let's see. Are we going to get it? There we go. See all the dust on it. So I didn't do too much of this. I didn't you can see the tires all messed up on there. I think I went through most of the flashing on the tires. They're sitting good. You could see at this position of the car, that's kind of where I want the axles to sit. So I'll get working on that shortly because I think this car would do good duty. Has a pocket car. Looks good. I think there's a little bit of wobble, as you can see on that back tire. So that just stuff bothers me like that. If they don't stay in the package, they're going to get worked on, unfortunately. For me, because of the time that I got to put in each car. But anyway, that's my fault. That's my problem. Love the car, though. Looks really good. High horsepower. Hellcat car probably has the blower, so this is the over 700 horsepower one. And Chrysler's 8-speed, I think, still. They finally announced, I believe in 23 or 24, that the car is going to finally be discontinued. And, it's sad. They're all starting to fall. Even though you can make big power with electric or hybrid powertrains, as we all know. And, of course, the instant torque is a lot of fun. I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss hearing the noise down the street. Probably another 15 years or so. You probably really won't hear stuff like that. You might, with motorcycles or the occasional toy car that someone might be driving. But, your daily driver, hopefully, there'll be people keeping them strong. But coming from the manufacturer is probably not really anything. So, got to enjoy it while we can, I guess. While they're still around. Yeah. So, current car, as we speak, still for sale. So, there they are. And they are fun to drive, I must say. And they look very good. Especially the wide body, which that car is. So, we're going to look at... We're getting through it now. Let's look at this car. And I don't know... Where is this thing? Here it is. Supra. So they make this in red and black on this Series 3. This is version A. Black one. This is the one I wanted. It's triple black. It's got black interior. Turbo. So it's got the big wing. So we went over the history of this car. I think this is one of the better castings of this vehicle. So I think the Mini GT or whatever one I have, it's good, but it doesn't have the same detail. Personally, I prefer the car without the wing. That's just me. Of course, it doesn't have the same power. The way they executed the wing, and I've seen these on every single one I've looked at, they're not peg warmers, but they definitely aren't the first ones to get grabbed either. So you can find them. Well, they got posts on there, and they glue them, but it's sloppy. And they're pretty much all like that to some degree. You're going to at least have it crooked, so it doesn't really lay down on the body. The car would have to be, for me to do this correctly and not really kill it, is to drill the car out, take the base off, take the interior out, push this from the inside out. Hopefully this hole goes all the way through. And then adjust the wing. That's if I want to do it without having to repaint the vehicle. But as it sits, I am a super fan, but I'm not a super fan. So I will leave the car as it is. I much prefer having these around anyway. This is a good car. I wish the wing was better. That's all I could say. Still a North American version. A lot of them never introduced JDM cars. This has left-hand drive and American registration. So I do like Autoworld for doing it from our perspective here in the States. So I do like that. That's how the cars were sold. They did have chrome wheels, and they also had the painted alloys, so they had both. This is a 94, and then the other ones, probably was a different one. It's probably 93. I don't know if it's a 94. I can't even tell. What does it say here? Let's look at this, because I'm having trouble. I think that says 93. Help me, everybody. Yes, 93. So they usually do that. And they seem to be doing it very much. So, especially with the square body, they started at 73, I guess, and they're up to 84. So we're going to see that in a minute. I finally caught one, as I was talking about it last time. Finally caught one. Alright, so let's park the Supra back. There's our lineup so far. Kind of a crazy collection of cars right now, especially with the old GMC in the background. So looked at 94 Supra. Let's get caught up on this real quick. I did find the other sister to the Aspen RT. Very rare car from the 70s, sort of. So we found it in the Cinnamon Poly. And we also looked at the green last time. So just a real quick, let's look at it real fast. They do change the rims. And they're using what they use on the C3 Corvette wheel. So that's a very common looking wheel. But it also fits these Mopars. Because they had an alloy like this. That looked very similar. So here you go. Cinnamon pie. It does look very cinnamon to me. Looks like that gum. Or root beer candy even, you'd say. And this also reminds me of Kawasaki KZ. They had a root beer kind of like this with the orange. So it's kind of cool. Split colors back then. This color and this. Very, very common. Very, very common. We'll zoom in on the RT. Again, Auto World and Greenlight do very, very good tampo work. I'd say the Johnny Lightning cars, the series, they've been doing really good paint jobs. Sometimes, if the car's fairly close to 1/64 scale, I do not mind the Hot Wheels Matchbox style axles because they do roll very nicely. And back in the day, they were supposed to be the ones to compete with Hot Wheels with their speed, so they're keeping that up. And look at those taillights. Isn't that crazy? Looks like they're upside down, but they're not. And of course, they got that cheeky license plate that says spicy. And this one says greeny. Yeah, so I like it. And of course, the beautiful 70s graphics. Sorry, I'm shaking the camera. I know everybody hates that. But it is on a stand. So, there's that. Alright. And of course, do we look at this one more time? From last time, there's our vehicles. I did not get the Miata. I did not find the other colors of the Firebirds. So I still got the white Firebird and the red Firebird, the dark red one. I need to find the other few. There's a blue Firebird, which I didn't like because the wheels look terrible. And the... But I would like the dark gray, what was it, 4th gen? 3rd gen. 3rd gen? Is it 3rd gen? Yeah, it's 3rd gen. Alright. Here's one, too. Look at this. Chief Blue. JK Unlimited. I think this is a Cherokee Chief Edition. Or Wrangler Chief, or whatever. What does it say there? Wrangler. Blah, 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 blah. Yes. Okay, we all know that. 87. They stopped the CJ name. They used the Wrangler. Part of the AMC redesign. Kind of followed the boxy look when the Cherokee came out. But anyway, here it is. This is again, they're all been 2018s pretty much. I think they have never changed the model year. I love this casting, except for the silly wedge shape, the triangle shape. I don't understand this. The only thing that's weird about it. The rest of it's great. The wheels and tires are good. Color looks good, like the roof line. You don't have that silly top that comes off like in Greenlight, which is nice, but it always falls off. Either you got to glue it on or just don't touch the thing, which is hard for me not to do. So maybe these are good. I have a pretty good collection of these going. I don't get every single one I see. I haven't got the recent ones. I've seen them a lot. They recycled the wheels of the Silverado trucks, the square bodies. They're using the Chevy Rallies on it, and I just can't do it. So that's just me. A lot of people love it because it's the neon green and the full black with the lifted. So I can understand the appeal of that one, but I just don't need to do it. So that's me. So this has the 3.6 in it. Now the new Jeeps, the new ones, they're offering a 4-cylinder turbo, 6-cylinder, and also hybrid electric drivetrain. So they're getting pretty good. We're getting pretty modern. New Broncos are out on Greenlight side, so hopefully I run across those. Hopefully soon we will be able to review that vehicle. Not the Bronco Sport, the actual Bronco. I don't really care for the Bronco Sport, though. I may get the casting from Greenlight. It's kind of neat. I'm going to throw this in here real quick before we move on to my square body pickups I finally found. This looks kind of cool. I have a few of these F-150s. I like this one because of the two-tone, and it looks very, very similar to trucks you see on the street. Some of the F-150s they've been doing recently, they look good, but you don't always see that color combination, but you see this a lot. So, except for the kind of tannish, yellowish interior, I think they overdid that color, but they got the chrome wheels on this, the two-tone, the blue, the bed liner, all that stuff. So, I think this is nice truck. It caught my eye. There's also a red one that they've done with the gray bottom, but the red doesn't flow very good on the body. And actually, they kind of buggered up this one too. If you look at the tailgate, it's kind of a bunch of glue or whatever's going on back there. I like the tailgate. F-150. Chrome wheels. They haven't changed the wheels yet on this thing. They just keep painting them different colors. Either they chrome them or they put the Ford, which they forgot on this. So what they did on the last, they didn't do the Ford emblem on them. Center console with the shifter, so full buckets, full crew, short bed. It's more like the 5.6, 5.5 foot bed. They also have a 6.5, I believe, still with the crew cab. And this looks like the EcoBoost motor, the 3.5. They also make a 5-liter Coyote, and they do a 2.7 liter. And in the base trucks, I think they still offer it, 3.3 normally aspirated V6. So there's all sorts of engines. Don't know if the turbo 4-cylinder is available still. I think it's all 6 cylinders. They did the 2.7 liter turbo 4-cylinder on the Silverado trucks, but I don't know if the Ford has it yet, so you can chime in below. So there's that. We did a very big review on these over the, I guess, a year or two these have been out. So most of the releases have been on the channel. Check back into the 1/64 scale playlist to look at more of that. Well, let's get to my favorite stuff. Of course, I'm always on the lookout for this, but who else isn't? Everybody is. That's why it took me so long to finally get this thing. So I found a hole in my collection, which was this one, which goes back a release or two backwards. But and look at the price they have to charge at Hobby Lobby. Ugh. And they don't have the coupon anymore. Would have no problem getting these all day there, but they cut off that spigot. They only do the 40% off on the model kits and the hobby supplies. You know, this is a hobby too. And I build cars also, but so I did find this. I was waiting for this. I have the what's the other color? I think it's black. So anyway, I had that forever, but I never found the red. So I got the red, which it looks kind of orangish in this picture. It's probably because of my light bulbs. And I also found this bad boy, only one of them. There was a full set of 2 sets of this Release 3, and only one of these. So I'm glad someone left it for me. And this was in the color I wanted, because they also have that crazy white on red color. This is 1983. Sorry, 1984. So this 83 is the first year for this kind of front end. They got away from this front end. So here's our progression. 81, 82, 83. See the difference? I think you can. This is probably one of the cleanest built Silverados, which is funny because usually when the casting gets older, which this isn't probably that much older because they have to redo the front end. But the wheels and tires were really good. The white walls were very, very true. Look at that. That's barely any wobble on that white wall. Got a little chip there, and that was because the little one got a hold of it. But other than that, it's one of my favorite ones to date. Yes, it's boring brown, two-tone, but I think for people that like stock, period, nostalgic paint schemes, this is it. So I'm digging it. And I didn't usually like the 83 grill in real life, but who cares anymore? I mean, just finding a clean one of these in any of these years is attractive to me. I'd probably go with whatever. See, of course, now the engine block has remained black. They stopped doing them orange. There's orange, 81. And then 82. Getting serious, all black. So... And they got now they're starting to they're like, screw it, we'll just put it on the license plate now because we make so many of these trucks that, there you go. And I think this one, it's probably the last one that, it has like kind of something whatever on the back of it. What does that say? Yeah, so I think they're finally doing it just with that. It's a really nice truck. I really like this thing. It looks great. They did the painting of the Chevy Rallies really well. They got the silver on the interior and the chrome beauty rings that snap on there. Everybody loves. If I went nuts, I probably could fill in the black on the quarter window, but I won't. Just leave it as is. So... just love that truck. And of course we still got our standard base with the 4-wheel drive setup, even though these are probably supposed to represent 2-wheel drive trucks still. So I'll get this out of here. That we already looked at that one, but and this is kind of cool too. I kind of like this one. Just red. It's very dark red in person. And this one did not have white walls, so I kind of like the look of that. Oh, and the other thing we talked about. So what bothered me always on these Fleetside trucks was that the wheel well is not level. It's higher here than it is there. This also changed. If you look at this, and actually in real life too, not only was this slanted down, but they made the trim go up to the back of the light. So it's lower here than it is here. It's not level. And that's actually the way it is on the real trucks. They wanted to keep that trim band to go up to where the tailgate ends over the bumper. Where on the 80s trucks, when the new design was done, talking about the redesign there, this became level. So Autoworld did replicate that correct. So this is all one level from all the way over. But they still haven't corrected this. So if you look at this truck in real life, this should be level. So that's really the only thing left to really address on these trucks. You don't notice it too much if you're not paying attention. But if you look at the truck long enough, and the other thing about it too, is I believe that the wheel well is a little bit big. Not too big, just a little bit big. I think it looks a little bit better in front than it does in the back. But that's my opinion. And I'm sticking to it. If anybody else wants to say, you could see that the wheel wells on the M2, I don't know, I think they're a little bit more in scale. So that's just me. But of course they have that horrendous bed. So I mean, I'd rather have this than anything. You know what I mean? So really, and all in all the points of contact, all the points of accuracy, I'm sure Autoworld hits most of the points. I'll just leave it at that. So the last vehicle we're going to look at made quite the splash on the internet. Everybody who follows the sites on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, looking out for new 1/64 scale to collect. Well, this would be on everybody's list. It's a limited edition. They'll probably make more of these in different liveries in the future, I'm sure. They invested some money in this casting. They did 2 initial releases. This one, and also Porsche, just factory race team red, Porsche red. They have 3 of these. I did a little reading on this. I guess they have 3 of them still around being used or being used for vintage events or having them in museums that are still around and aren't destroyed. I think they made 8 of these or 5 or I can't remember. 4? And then maybe 3 are still around, something like that. Or still being used. It's a bus chassis from Mercedes. And then what they did was basically this whole thing was the bus chassis up until this. If you look at the pictures of the buses, really this part with the windshield and the driver's seat and this front end. But really the door from this line forward almost is all for this truck, basically. So it's kind of ingenious using the bus design because of all the space they could do. They didn't have to have a articulated truck like a tractor trailer. like we used in the States, or they had these ramp trucks. They kind of had bad weather a lot, so this is enclosed where they can have their tools and the vehicles and everything, spares, whatever, in a unit. So this is Schuco's Renntransporter, Mercedes. This is the Martini Racing. This is still like this, I believe. They still have this one. They run those high horsepower Porsches through this, and it's pretty neat. Pretty cool. Don't have a lot of 1/64 scale vintage Porsche. You know, we have Hot Wheels stuff, but probably we'll have to get some stuff like that. Maybe some Le Mans cars to put in here. They have the clear windows up top to let light in, so that's there. They got a very nicely rolling system. I knew that was going to be good through Schuco. They always do a good axle system. A plastic base, unfortunately, but everything else is diecast. They have a tampo process that is more of a decal than it is a printing, although it feels like printing. When I opened up the doors for the first time, this seam wasn't completely cut and it ripped a little bit, so I went through with my knife and cut that. And we'll open this up one more time, but I really don't make it a practice of opening these doors up. There's no ramps that come with the car or the truck, so it's not like you're putting vehicles in it or anything. Let's see. Yeah. So they have that little detent there so you can get a tool in. They do a great job. I mean, they got metal hinges. You can see how cool the light hits the floor of the transporter because of the skylights. So, I mean, I love it. It's just that decal is going to get ragged if I keep opening it, so I'm not going to keep doing it. But it looks great. And, well, let's see. Let's see if we want to get a little hillbilly and put a Firebird in there. So we can do it. It fits, sort of. A little wide. So, definitely a Porsche. I think I had a small sports car around here somewhere. Well, here, yeah. I was putting this car in there, which I broke the mirror off. I'm going to have to glue that in. I found it. It almost got disappeared into the carpet, but I got it. So, yeah, it barely fits. Really because of that. It's where they screw it in. So, again, it you can open it, but there's not so much detail in there. They make a 1/43rd scale, and they also make a 1/18th scale. Schuco does of these vehicles, so they pretty much have all the scales covered if you really like this stuff. People have those big collections of 1/18 with the really fancy cars. They usually have these in their collection, and the 1/18th scale market does cater to those folks. There's a bunch of transporters at 1/18th scale from old to new. That are available with your 1/18 scale collection as a accompaniment or accoutrement of it. So, but it's great. It's got the white Mercedes steering wheel. It's got the running lights. It's got the separate lens detail, and it rolls very nicely, which is my favorite part. Look at that thing. Here, let's see if I can keep my hand steady. So, I like it. I think it looks really good. And the last thing that we are going to look at today, I think the battery is going to be going down. And I wanted to fit some cars into this video because with life going on so busy, I do get cars, but I don't have enough time to do a nice little sit down with everybody. And I do like sharing my stuff. The hobby's good. Everybody likes cars as a person that is okay in my book. So, hope you enjoyed it. And, well, there's more to come. I'm thinking about getting the other scales out. I've gotten some really interesting stuff over the few weeks and months that 1/43rd scale and bigger. So I'll just have to make time for that too, I guess. Well, we looked at some cars. Hope everybody enjoyed it. And thank you for all the new subscriptions. We're really close to 5,000. Spread the word. Share, like, subscribe. Look at the Instagram page. Hope everybody's doing well. And more cars next time.